Societies are an important aspect of our lives. Societies make us, and societies are made by cultures and traditions. Right through the heart of Tanzania, a small silent community aching to be heard by the world called the Chagga live. The Chagga has a rich cultural history that during my adventure I was amazed. Right from the time of their birth, through their lives and then death, the Chagga had rituals, rites and norms to observe that were amazing. What stood out for me was the first journey of a mother and her child just before birth and right into delivery or right into birth. A series of events and rituals took place, but little did I know, this was just but a journey that had just started. This was the beginning of a lifelong journey for the community, and a series of events were to follow right through into adulthood, right through into their death. The Chagga had a step-by-step way of living. During childbirth, the father of the family and his mother were really involved in activities as preparations. It was and still is believed that it was dangerous to leave an expectant mother without help. The family then called a midwife, who may have been the husband's mother, or a woman the Chagga society referred to as Mkeku Moende Mana. After a safe delivery, the midwife ordered for herbal leaves traditionally called the Masonzuku. Now these kind of herbs were dipped into lukewarm water and then applied all over the child's body. This was believed to be a cleansing ritual for the child. After this, butter was applied on its whole body and the child sucked the midwife's tongue. At the same moment, the child was given a herb to prevent harm or discomfort because it was going to suck from its mother's breast for the first time. After the first part of the delivery and the safe delivery, the child was given some kind of banana delicacy called mrarao, which had been covered up or concealed by hot ashes. The hot ashes were so as to make the food soft and edible for the child. After the food was ready, the midwife chewed it and then spat it into the child's mouth for it to eat. This first food was called Kelia Ketocha Mana Ulaka. This meant it was the food that opened up the child's throat. After this rite, the mother was allowed to breastfeed her child. The midwife, on the other hand, gave the child food from time to time before it was shaved. It was during this period that the midwife often applied butter on the child's hands and placed them near the fire so that it would get the warmth it needed. The child was also massaged to stretch out its limbs and shape up its head. And after this, butter was again applied on its body for 2 consecutive days, and he was massaged again to cleanse the body and make it soft. After all this was done, the child was later not shown to people or strangers, but only to close and trustworthy and mature people at that. And these people came only from the family. This was because the midwife and the parents did not like the older children seeing the umbilical cord of that child. It was also believed that even an adulterous person who had not taken a bath after their shameful acts saw the child, it would cry the whole night. Another reason for hiding the child for the first months was because it was believed that people with jealousy or resentment would also cast a spell on the child and it would become sick. Those kind of people in the Chagga community were feared just the same as witches and wizards during that time. These were the reasons why one was not allowed to see a child, and the house forbidden to enter was marked by setting up a tree the Chagga called Sale. This tree had leaves tied up in a knot. It was kept at the door of the child's mother. There was no specific time to feed the child, and it was done when the mother felt it was time to do so or when the child cried. The child was never washed or bathed with water unless it was sick, and butter was applied on its body after that. This kind of norm is still followed today, whether knowingly or unknowingly, where oil is applied on a child after it has been bathed. When the child was 1 month old, the mother started making a banana meal with milk that wouldn't curdle on a small pot called kitosho. The meal was served on a wooden plate called iriko or kimborikoe. If by any chance the child refused to breastfeed or eat, or was having a running stomach, then it was believed to be sick and was taken to a medicine man immediately. If the child cried all the time or had an abnormal behavior, it was believed that it had inherited the behavior from its parents. To prevent this, the child had to be cleansed to cast out the bad behavior, which the Chagga called mbaka mbicho. The parents had to wake up very early in the morning and look for rainwater or dewdrops to cleanse the child. History says this ritual did not completely stop here, as it was done to an adolescent, though slightly different. An impossible adolescent underwent such a ritual to cleanse him or her from the bad behavior. When the child was 3 months old, the parents believed it would turn into the skin it slept on. The skin was called mkoku, which meant a young child. This was part of the reason why the family had to look for a nanny, whom the Chagga called Mori. Mori meant the moon because moonlight was not too bright and children loved moonlight. Nannies were believed to be loving and caring and not harsh, just like the soft rays of the moonlight. The nanny stayed with the child every time the parents were busy, and if a family could not afford one, they took care of the child themselves. The child's food was changed into kishimba. Kishimba was a type of food that had bananas mixed with milk. Now, this milk could not curdle because a cow's water had been added. If the milk was not found, the food prepared was like porridge, and the child took this food while breastfeeding until it was 5 months old. The child was supposed to sleep naked, and that was why they slept with their mothers during childhood. A child's first words had to be tata or papa. It was bad or a bad omen if the first words the child said was mama. The mother, after 3 months or more for the rich, left the weaning period and went out of the house. The day she finally got out, she was made beautiful and presented to the society. She walked with her mother-in-law to the marketplace to show off how well taken care of she had been. The women at the marketplace sang and danced with her, and she bought lots and lots of sugarcane and gave it to the boys and girls. This was a form of present called chonga ya mana, which meant the child's ceremonial gifts. The nanny also took care of the child to prevent it from eating things from the ground or using the left hand instead of the right one. The child also learned to crawl and was taught how not to touch dangerous things like fire. The child was also taught how to play with small balls and wild fruits called ndulele in Chagga. Now, these round-shaped things looked very interesting to the child, and the child would be happy if he or she played with them. If by accident the child became sick or got a terminal illness, the parents had to give it a proper name, because it was said if it died without a proper name or without being given a name, it would be bad luck or a bad omen. The only time such was excused was when a child suddenly died while still too young to be named. At some time, the child was given raw meat which had fat on it, and the child was made to suck off the fat from the meat for a healthier living. This period was just but a beginning of a lifelong journey for the child and the community. Believe you me, the child's rituals were but a drop of water into a sea of diverse rites and traditions of the Chagga community. This was just a beginning of an adventure.